From LALATE headquarters in Santa Monica, this is Afternoons LALATE.
It's a big afternoon of Afternoons LALATE as late into the night last night, the viewership of the channel watched for the latest update about your fourth stimulus check of 2021. And despite assurances that a vote would happen on the roads and bridges last night, it didn't happen. A big win for your RECON. A big win to protect the RECON as the Democratic progressives of both the House and Senate blocked the vote from starting because there was not enough votes in favor of the roads and bridges. This is a major victory for the channel across the board. And a week ago, last Saturday, passed $3.5 trillion of checks passed in the $3.5 trillion RECON in the House of Representatives. I'll go over the incredible details of each of those clusters that passed last Saturday. Passed cluster number 1, checks for seniors, checks for workers. Cluster number 2, paid sick leave. Cluster number 3, free prescription medication. Passed. And guess what? All this week, members of the progressives from Chuck Schumer to Bernie Sanders to Liz Warren to Omar, AOC, and Jalapal all confirmed to viewers of this channel they're inserting a monthly stimulus check in the RECON. Wow, what a major developing details. At the time of this recording, we will see what's going on with the second reported attempt to vote on the roads and bridges today. But a major win as your RECON protected last night. And the roads and bridges falling apart. Literally, well, the bill. Meantime, the incredible great news, your RECON passing the House of Representatives last Saturday. Of all the incredible details as Afternoons LA starts right now. Hey, good evening, everybody. Good afternoon, everybody. Hope you're having a beautiful day across the board. And last evening, lots of dramatics. If you tune into this channel, as I broke into the taping of the airing of crypto, I broke in to give you the latest update of what happened last night. But in this recording, we'll go over what happened last night. A big win for your RECON. The progressives blocking the roads and bridges for a vote last night. It's a huge victory. I told you the roads and bridges passes doesn't impact you at all. But if it goes down in flames, it's a big win, and it was a massive win. This comes after your $3.5 trillion RECON passing in the House last weekend. That is the House Budget Committee ratifying cluster number 1, pass, cluster number 2, pass, and cluster number 3, pass. In this recording, we'll go over all those incredible clusters. And then we'll be turning to the IRS monthly stimulus check, which now 1,000 viewers have been told and reassured this week again that it's going in there. Wow, it's incredible recording. Then meantime, at the time of this airing, we will see if the second attempt to vote on the roads and bridges has gone underway. I'll be in the live chat when the show airs. And then coming up next is Evenings LA, which will be the biggest update of the day after all the events conspire unless they vote in the middle of the night, which they attempted to do last night. So with that, subscribe. 400,000 subscribers, a YouTube record in 1 year for a reason. When the House Budget Committee passed your RECON last weekend, no broadcast channel reported it, no print media, no online YouTube channel. And throughout the last week, I've had a series of exclusives. I've been breaking you hour by the hour. The logistics, the voting, the process, the dates, the negotiations, and the positions by the hour, on the hour. You're not going to see the scope of this reporting anywhere in broadcast media. And this is what you're going to get in this recording as well. So subscribe, like the video, and consider becoming a member. Let's go over all the incredible details. First, we're going to go over the RECON passing. Then we'll go over the dramatics of last night briefly. And then we'll go over to your monthly IRS stimulus checks. And then we'll cut back over to what's going on today in view of what happened yesterday. Passed. $3.5 trillion of RECON passing in the House subcommittee for budgeting last Saturday. It's huge. All the 3 clusters covered on this channel passing. And wow, what a historic day for this channel. $3.5 trillion. And cluster number 1, 2, and 3 shows us that number 1, it has nothing to do with COVID. It's just life in general. You don't have to be COVID related to qualify for this money. All right, let's get to cluster number one. They got in their hazard pay, money for seniors, money for children, $51,000 of MSC, home repairs, college grants, and a new bike, car, and truck. Let's go over all the incredible details of cluster number one. First, hazard pay got in there. They got it in there by expanding the earned income tax credit, an old tax code, to include more people of eligibility, making it easier to qualify for it, and then broaden the amount of money. Then they got up to $4,000 a year to care for an elderly person at home. This is what Representative Richard Neal, head of House Ways and Means, got in there. On the flip side, up to $4,000 a year to care for a young child. Meantime, they got money in there for college students, grants directly to them, to the university, and making the Pell's Grant tax-free. They got money in there for home repairs. If you live in a low-income community, the federal government will give you checks to repair that home. What about MSCs? Monthly stimulus checks got in there, multiple stimulus checks, $51,000 a child. What are they doing? They took the CTC, the child tax credit, and made it lifetime. This is a biggie. They brought in the eligibility so parents that are not biological also qualify for the money. How much? A lot. Up to $300 every month for every year, for up to 18 years that child is in a low-income household, which would be $51,000. Meantime, they got money in there for bikes, cars, and trucks, all electric, all U.S. auto manufacturer. First, up to 15% for the purchase of a new electric bike. Second, up to $7,500 for the purchase of a new vehicle for personal use, a little bit more for business use, and then a little bit more for an electric truck for business use. Wow. In a second, when it got to cluster number two, checks passed, and cluster number three's checks passed, and the IRS stimulus checks they represent, they're adding in there. Incredible news. Let's take a detour for just a second to go over the big exciting details as an additional cash infusion from third stimulus is landing in your cities, counties, and states. Every city, every county, red, blue, rich, and poor is getting this money. And it was sent out by Treasury about a week ago. Here was what Treasury said. Treasury is happy to provide the state and local governments with the additional resources to help Americans in need of rental assistance. I'll go over how you get the big sums of money and how viewers are getting $80,000 to $120,000 a viewer on this channel for a third stimulus. It's coming up later in this video. Stay with me. We have a lot of stuff coming up in the final 15 minutes of this video. Let's cut to cluster number two's checks that got in there. These are about 12 checks, and they are deliciousness because they pay a lot of money. The first one is paid family leave, then paid medical leave. Family leave, you have to stay at home because your wife is pregnant. Medical leave, you have to stay at home because your son broke his leg. How much does it pay? A fortune. Up to $1,700 a week if you made $70,000 or more under third stimulus. That would be, if you split it, $35,000 annual salary, $800 a week. Split it again, $400 a week if your annual salary is $15,000. They got a lot of other checks into the second cluster passed. Checks for child care programs passed. Checks for household tax credits checks passed. Then money to weatherize your home. Definitely needed if moderate Democrats are bouncing on the roof. You want to keep them out of the house, literally, figuratively. So they're on the roof trying to get back in. Universal pre-kindergarten got in there, and then free community college. Definitely needed if you want to take that very popular foreign language class called "What the World Is LATE Saying?" 101. Yeah, the advanced class 202 is called Los Angeles. You want to be bilingual in other languages, then take the Los Angeles class. No one understands what they're ever saying. So totally free. That's coming to you as well. In a second, we're going to cut to cluster number three. But what is Congress doing? What is Congress not doing? Later in this video, we'll be going over the dramatics of last night, but the overview is the following. Number one, Nancy Pelosi had two options last night. Call the vote on the roads and bridges and have it fail, or don't call the roads and bridges for a vote and just have people sort of say, we're looking at it a little bit further. So she opted for the second choice, which by the middle of the day, it looked like that's what she was going to do. She knew she didn't have the votes in favor of it, because why? We won. We won. The progressives who are protecting your recon on both the House and Senate side said they have far more than enough 3 votes to vote down the roads and bridges. They had 60. Yeah. And this was a signal that the moderate Democrats are not in control of the Senate, not in control of the House, because the progressives had no less than 2 more meetings last night. Well, what's happening today? either before the time of this airing of the show or shortly after the airing of the show, there will be a second attempt to call roads and bridges vote. Now, I'm going to show you why, unless something unfolds after this recording, it's likely the same event will happen again, that it will not pass the roads and bridges. But it's unclear whether the vote will actually start or Pelosi will table the situation again. I have all the dramatics about what happened last night. A potential deal offer from the president to lower your recon, he better not. Then what happened with the progressives, what they said about the recon, what they said about the roads and bridges, and what the moderates said about the situation. I have all the incredible dramatics from what happened last night coming up later in this video. But let's collect a third set of checks. These are incredible. These are the checks the president wanted in there, and he got them in there. Free school meals for all checks, tax-paid checks, cheaper prescription medication checks, farmers checks, checks for free internet, checks for clean energy, checks for workers like independent contractors, checks for Medicare like a lowering eligibility age for Medicare, checks for seniors, checks for dental, checks for vision, and checks for hearing care. Two of the checks in this third cluster I particularly love, and so is the president. Why? Because it's instant savings to you. Number one, is cheaper prescription medication. Let's say you're getting a very bad headache from the moderate Democrats. You go to the pharmacy to fill a prescription. I need that moderate Democrats prescription. Yeah, gets rid of them in 3 days. You take out two $20 bills for your wallet to pay for the prescription. Then this becomes law, and then you have to get you have to get the prescription refilled. Guess what? Then you may only have to take out one $20 bill from your wallet. Then on the other side, the federal government's going to give fortunes to city, counties, and states that can offer free internet to you locally. These local cities will have free internet, so all you have to do is say, I'd like to get the username and password for the Wi-Fi. The username is called Goth Gang and Go Away. And the password is Jalapal for the win. There we go. Coming up later in this video, we'll have all the incredible dramatics about what happened last night, what's happening today with the vote, all the details, some of which you may not have seen if you did not watch my live feed last night. It was exciting. Meantime, we'll be going over the third stimulus and fifth stimulus, but I think it's time now to go over those IRS monthly stimulus checks. Those IRS monthly stimulus checks were the topic of discussion over the last 8 weeks, as no less than 1,000 viewers of this channel have been told by Democratic senators and Democratic House members, mostly all progressive, that they will be inserting that provision into the recon. This week, those Democratic senators' staff said the same thing again. Chuck Schumer's office confirming the same to Donnie's wife yesterday. He's doing a monthly stimulus check provision in there. We've gotten confirmation as well this week from the progressive House members, AOC, Omar, and Jalapal confirming to the viewers of this channel as well. What's important to understand is that when the recon passed on the House floor last Saturday, it was not a bill. It was what would become a bill. And shortly after it passed, Nancy Pelosi said, well, if you want to add more stuff in there, now is the time to add it in there. It's sort of like an envelope that says the word bill on it. Like an envelope that says the word bill on it. Because Pelosi said Saturday night, and so did the president, you want to add stuff in there? Go ahead and add stuff in there. I will allow you to. That's why we're sort of rushing it through, because if you have suggestions, come on in. Ron Wyden, Democrat, but senator and progressive, said he wants to add in a new payment scheme for unemployment benefits. And of course, going into the weekend, Pelosi's office telling viewers, nearly 1,000 viewers this channel, she's inserting a monthly stimulus check provision. So we'll be going over more about how this monthly check provision adding into the recon would happen. How would it happen? All those details and all the dramatics of what unfolded last night. And what's anticipated for today? It's a big recording. Let's see if we can get it all in the final 15 minutes. I will be back in about 60 seconds as the excitement continues. And so does afternoon's LALATE. See you back in 60 seconds. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.la.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LALATE Daily for the excitement of the new LALATE live daily. The excitement starts on mornings LALATE at 9 a.m. Home LALATE returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then afternoons LALATE at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LALATE. It's a big afternoon of Afternoons LALATE with continuing coverage of the vote or lack of a vote on the roads and bridges. Late last night, the senators and House members caucusing and a potential vote loomed into the middle of the night. I was with you when the breaking details were happening, but they didn't get it done. So why not? It's a big win for you and the RECON. In this second half of this recording, we'll go over the dramatics from last night. We'll be going over those monthly stimulus checks the Democrats who represent, they're adding in there. These are progressive Democrats who last night showed that they are in control, not the moderate Democrats. We'll be going over the surprise statement today off the record that suggests there may be a counteroffer in the RECON. Is it true or is it not true? Then we'll be going to the big money under third stimulus. We'll be going over the exciting details of this stimulus. It's a big afternoon. We're just getting started. And with that, I'm so excited for you to join me and also to subscribe. Hit that subscribe button right now. No channel is recording 24 hours a day, 7 days a week upon every single item check under the RECON, except here. I even broke into Overnight's crypto last night to give you no less than a 30-minute update about what was unfolding last night. So subscribe. Best community, most accurate, and most in-depth coverage of your RECON. Like the video, 2,000-3,000 likes, and consider becoming a member. Let's cut over right to the surprise as the debt ceiling limit is done. So I want to remind viewers across the board that the debt ceiling, what was an issue this week, done. So all your checks, if you're on SSI, SSDI, if you are a recipient of benefits checks like Social Security every month, or you're an employee of the federal government or armed services, your checks are arriving on time. It's not to December. We have to look at the situation again in about 2 weeks. So we'll be revisiting the subject, but that one is done. Let's turn to the dramatics that happened last night, because a lot of people woke up this morning, may not have heard what happened yesterday, and certainly couldn't see my live feeds in the live chat. Let me tell you what happened last night. I had told you going into the voting by about 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, as Evenings LA had started to air, that there was still no date or time to call the vote on the roads and bridges. We were told it was supposed to happen on Thursday. And the reason why the moderate Democrats said it had to vote on Thursday was because of an ancillary legislation that's related to it called the Surface Transportation Agreement would run out on Thursday evening. Jalapal called it a fake date, meaning that you could just have a Senate hearing and quickly refund it. So she said Thursday was not a real date. Going into Thursday night, Bernie Sanders and Liz Warren kept on coming out and saying, I support you, House progressives, as I'm a Senate progressive, vote down the roads and bridges. Don't pass it. So this is what happened in the final hours. At 9 o'clock, we were anticipating that the voting would start on the roads and bridges because Nancy Pelosi, as the Speaker of the House, had ended discussion or debate on the roads and bridges. It looked like 9 o'clock was a potential start time. So guess what happened first? Jalapal, who is chairman of the Progressive Caucus, had a last-minute caucus meeting, pep rally, with her progressives to ensure that they were all going to vote down no. And they did agree that. No, we never got the number of the progressives, but we believe it's far in excess of 60, maybe approaching 100. It came after 24 hours of a lot of other moderate Democrats calling the progressives every name in the book. So the progressives were very ramped up because they were being trash-talked by the moderates in the press. By 9 o'clock, the time came and there was no vote starting. Nancy Pelosi did not start the voting at 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, 6 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. At that point, a very peculiar series of events started to unravel. Brian Deasy, who some of you have seen on the Sirloin Show, he's the guy with, I always joke, on Lean on the Wall, the Yale graduate, And two other members of the Biden administration were seen going into the vice president's chambers in the Senate. Broadcast media didn't know why they were there. Then we learned that they suddenly went into Chuck Schumer, majority leader in the Senate's offices, with Chuck and Bernie Sanders and Kristen Sinema. Why? We really didn't know why initially, but we thought we understood why. That the president had sent over his members to try to get moderate Democrats to agree to a price point on the roads and bridges, on the RECON. And if those moderates so agree to a price tag on the RECON, that the moderates then the progressives like Jalopal may call off their troops and vote in favor of the roads and bridges. A tall order, absolutely. Ridiculous? That's actually what Bernie Sanders said. I thought it was ridiculous. I thought it was a strange move. I don't want to say something more derogatory, but I thought it was a very strange move. And it didn't just make sense. Why, when the roads and bridges is being called for a vote, and the progressives saying we're ready to vote it down, why would a progressive suddenly say, oh yeah, I'll now vote in favor of it because someone said they might do something with the RECON? It didn't look good for the president. Bernie Sanders came out of the meetings and out of the meeting, or whatever you would call it, and said nothing was achieved. In fact, it was the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. It was absurd because I'm not going to make a deal about a $3.5 trillion RECON for 10 minutes when it's informal. There's nothing confirming what we're going to do it, and it's based upon a promise. After guess what? The last week, the moderate Democrats breaking promise after promise to the Speaker of the House, breaking a promise about the debt ceiling limit, breaking a promise about the roads and bridges and RECON go for a vote at the same time, breaking promises all over the time. After the Bernie Sanders said that, Jalopal came out with another comment, which basically reiterated what I just said and exactly what I would have said as well, which is we have a $3.5 trillion RECON. It passed in the Senate already. It passed by RECON procedure, remember? So all we're doing now is how to spend the money on the RECON $3.5 trillion. Why would we entertain something different that's not actually passed in the Senate? And why would we change our position on the vote on the roads and bridges? So she told her caucus, get ready to vote no, and that if it's called for a vote at 10 o'clock, then get ready to call the vote, but do not gloat about the situation. Jalopal then appeared on broadcast news and was asked, do you think that the roads and bridges will be called for a vote tonight? She said, I really don't know. She also reiterated that she was absolutely positive the roads and bridges was not going to pass tonight. At the same time, the Goth Gang's founder, Gothenheimer, the problem creator, not problem solver from 2020, had appeared on press, and he said he was 1,000% positive that the roads and bridges was going to pass last night. Sort of wrong. So what happened then in the next few minutes? What happened in the next few minutes is that some of the moderate Democrats started meeting in the basement of the cabinet, of the Congress. You know, sort of obvious, sort of interesting imagery. And then what did happen? Well, we were approaching on 10 o'clock, and it looked like 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. It looked like the vote was about to start, and it didn't. And then suddenly out of nowhere, Nancy Pelosi issued a statement, basically saying the following: to my colleagues in the House, thank you for your work today. We will continue to work together to get the RECON passed and everything passed. Thank you for your wonderful day. When you read the statement delivered to members of this channel and viewers of this channel as soon as it came out, it looked like she was saying, thank you, you can go home. Thank you for your work today. She immediately was asked about, are you saying there's no voting tonight? She came back and said, I'm not saying that. Sort of a little crazy because it's 10 o'clock at night. I mean, you're on the East Coast, you're an elder statesman, and you're not being told whether there is a vote or not a vote. Sort of another way to make people very uneasy. Now, to her respect, she's not the person who determines when things start to vote or makes the announcement. It's Steny Hoyer. And Steny Hoyer made the announcement minutes later that, yes, there would be no vote on the roads and bridges on Thursday night, and that they'll continue the path to discuss it today, Friday. Again, not suggesting whether there would definitely be a vote, what time the vote would be, if the vote happens before the show airs or happens after the vote airs. The progressives had a series of wins, and the wins continued even thereafter, because what happened late last night? Chuck Schumer appeared on the Senate floor and said, you know what, we're having the senators come back in session Friday to pass an extension to refund the surface transportation agreement. Remember I told you it was a fake deadline for Thursday? And as Jalopal said, it's a fake deadline. You can just refund it with another hearing on the Senate floor. That's exactly what they did. So no one really bought into this. Here's what you need to know going into this afternoon. While we don't know if by the time this show airs, if the voting has started on the roads and bridges, this is the situation at the moment. Going into Wednesday, we were pretty much clear that the roads and bridges was going to fail because there were enough progressives against it. You can't lose 3 Democrats. That's the majority. That's the margin of error on the House side. There's 60 Democrats against it. Since Wednesday, going into Thursday, the progressives were literally trash talked as often as you can imagine by the moderate Democrats in the press. So the progressives were even more ready to vote down the roads and bridges. Last night, the attempts by the White House didn't really work and may have made the progressives a little bit even more unease about the situation. My prediction at the moment is that there is nothing to signal that the progressives would back off and say, yeah, I'm voting in favor of the roads and bridges, because Jalapal made the clear statement last night, and I would have said the same thing, and I think you would have as well. I'm not going to say yes on the roads and bridges until I have a passage of something on the Senate side from the moderate Democrats as to our recon. Otherwise, I'm not going to pass your stuff, roads and bridges, which is the moderate Democrat stuff. I'm not going to pass your stuff until you actually vote on our stuff on the Senate side. Meaning that she was not going to fall for this, we write it up in a memo or we write it up in a peachy and put it, on a napkin, and I'm going to agree that you're going to uphold the napkin. This is after 2 weeks of the moderate Democrats not keeping their promises on many things like the debt ceiling limit. More about the dramatics of this, but first let's turn to the exciting details about your fourth stimulus check of 2021. Your fourth stimulus check of 2021, the exciting details is that now there is more indication that things are going better than ever before. Number one, over this week, from Monday to Friday, Bernie, AOC, Omar, Jalapal, and Schumer have been among the offices that have reconfirmed their prior assurances to viewers of this channel that a stimulus check provision will be added in there. Number two, we have now seen that this $3.5 trillion recon passed on the House floor was not the full item, that it was an envelope. And as Pelosi said to viewers of this channel going into last weekend, she'll be adding a monthly stimulus check. And all this week and all last Saturday, the president and Pelosi said, this is not the closed book. You add stuff, whatever you want to add in there, and you want to add in there. And no less than 1,000 viewers have been told by nearly a dozen Democratic senators and House members that monthly IRS stimulus check will be going in there. Let's go over what's happened. 8 weeks ago, I said, pick up the phone and advocate. And WR did. He picked up the phone, called Senator Chris Coons, Democrat, Delaware, advocating for the monthly stimulus check provision to be added. And Chris Coons said, yes, it's added in there. It's going to be added in there. 3 weeks ago, this channel really started picking up. If you notice what happened, it was just sort of an overnight movement by this channel. I started delivering a lot of exclusives. I started delivering a lot of nuances about the voting process. And at that time, I told viewers, I believe in a world exclusive that the recon will be written by House Democrats, not Senate Democrats. I was right. I was the first to tell you that I believe that the recon will go to a vote first on the House floor, not the Senate floor. I was right. And I also told you Bernie Sanders is very important in the equation. He's the guy who got the $3.5 trillion price tag. He went into negotiations with Senate Democrats asking for $7 trillion. He was totally happy with $3.5 trillion, and they agreed, and they passed it. Recon is procedural. But 3 weeks ago, Bernie said a critical statement. He said, unlike prior Senate budget chairmen, I like to get amongst the people when writing up a recon. I said, that means he wants to hear from you. Pick up the phone and advocate. And Brother Joshua did, Lynn Glenn did, and Margaret did. What does advocacy look like? Let's go over what advocacy looks like, because it took a wonderful face this week as more people really understood that you got to pick up and speak up and say what you need at that very moment. The incredible comments came in from viewers like Margaret. You're going to see a screen grab from people who posted comments on the live chat on the show or by private message on social media. Margaret writes, honestly, the woman on the phone from the Senate and I start crying when I explained everything I've been through. Another viewer writes, how am I supposed to endure 10 surgeries since the passing of my husband? How am I supposed to raise 2 teenage daughters? How am I supposed to live on SSI and SSDI? It's not enough. And that congressional leader crying with her. That's what Brother Joshua did 3 weeks ago to Sanders' office. He advocated for himself, for you, for his church. He's a 2020 volunteer for the community page, got viewers' fortunes, and also Purple Hawk. And he advocated, and they got the answer, yes. Sanders' office telling Brother Joshua there will be a monthly stimulus check, $1,000 to $1,400, 3 to 6 months added in there. But Sanders needs to hear the support of the viewers, and you certainly stepped up. Certainly in this week, Sanders reconfirmed, his staff reconfirmed to viewers of this channel that that provision will be going in there after they advocated. But let's look at the messages that came in to viewers from Sanders all the way up to the president over the last 7 days. It started with the comment from Donnie. Donnie writes the following: I called Bernie, and his secretary said they're doing it for a stimulus check, and that's what I need. My city needs it. I need it to progress. I need it for my water and everything. I told her, and she said, okay, they're putting it in there. Hurricane Tina writes, I called Bernie Sanders' office, and I got through, and they did say they're putting another forced stimulus check in there. The comments continue to come in, like Carolyn writing, I called Bernie Sanders' office and talked to the secretary and said we need help to hear people are losing their homes and what they got. She agreed, and Bernie also is putting a forced stimulus check in there. The comments continued across the board, like Yaya, who picked up Ron Wyden office on the phone, and he wants the SS-200 in there, he promised in the conversation. The comments took an incredible movement, however, when Will showed us, don't just call one office, call three. Yesterday, I called around, I called Bernie, I called Warren, and I called Schumer's offices. And all three of their secretaries confirmed the stimulus check provision. As to Warren, her staff told me $1,400 to $2,000, 6 to 12 months. And then at that point, we had it all lined up. Nearly 1,000 viewers of this channel confirming the inclusion of a monthly IRS stimulus check in the forced stimulus recon, from Senators Coons, Sanders, Warren, Schumer, Casey, and Wyden, telling viewer after viewer the same message. But at that point, we still didn't have enough House members. We did not have enough. And I said, pick up the phone, call Omar, AOC, Jayalapal, and Pelosi. And that's what viewers started to do. Paul picking up the phone, calling AOC and AOC's office. And this is what Paul wrote. She wants them to be $2,000 a month the first month, $1,000 thereafter. She assured me it's going into the bill. Janice Penard picking up the phone. I called everyone. I called Jayalapal, and they did say forced stimulus check is going in there. The message continued with Janice also calling over to Omar's office, getting the same confirmation. And there you go. At that point, the messages really took it up to another notch. Even Mark, who picked up the phone and called Pelosi's office, her staff told me there would be a fourth check in there, $2,000 the first month, $1,000 thereafter, and that they are currently almost done negotiating it. At that point, it was very clear the same message coming in from the members of Congress. Multiple months of stimulus checks that would run $1,000 a month after the first month of 2000 for 6 months. Well, there you go. But why is this incredible great news? Because this is consistent with what Pelosi has said about the situation. Pelosi last Saturday, the president last Saturday, and also this week said the $3.5 trillion recon passed on a Saturday, last Saturday, is not a etched in stone situation. You want to add stuff in there? Tell me. And ironically, all the 1,000 viewers of this channel who have been told that there's a stimulus check provision being added in there after they advocated for it have been told future tense, will be, is going to be amended, to be amended, because this is great news. They have a lot of room to put it in there, and there you go. Now, let's cut to the dramatics that unfolded more about last night and what I anticipate for this week. Well, number one, the moderate Democrats tried several different paths yesterday. And the moderate Democrats' paths included trying to say, I will get to your recon when I feel in the mood. Moderate Democrats didn't buy it. I mean, progressives didn't buy it. Moderate Democrats tried a series of strategic moves. One, trying to trash talk the progressives. Second, trying to say that they'll get to the recon at a later date. Number three, saying that going after everyone from Chuck Schumer to Liz Warren. It was not a really good look for the moderate Democrats, and none of it got them anywhere. It actually made them being left with egg on their face. It also made the progressives even more aligned to protect your recon. Remember the progressives, AOC, Jayalapal, Omar, they're progressive, House member progressives, they're Senate progressives as well, like Liz Warren and Chuck Schumer and Bernie Sanders, had said, you know what? We got what we got in our recon. We're happy with what we got. We're going to protect it. We're sending it to the finish line. And you can do what you want with your roads and bridges, which we're not against, but you're not going to use roads and bridges to blow up, to destroy our recon. And that was the clear messaging. Today, it's likely the vote could happen on the roads and bridges, if not before the time of the show airing or after the time of the show airing. But Pelosi has two choices. One, call the vote on the roads and bridges, have it go down fire and have it fail. Or number two, never call for a vote because she doesn't want the image to go out that her caucus is splintered. My prediction is Pelosi will not call the vote if it is going to fail, because she has always been very big on sending the image that her caucus is aligned. A vote of down would not be the type of imagery she wants. To show that the roads and bridges is failing and not passing, you have to basically put two different events together. You have to put the focus on Nancy, you have to put the focus on Jalapal, and you have to basically tell a whole story to prove to the listener that the roads and bridges didn't pass last night, as opposed to simply calling the vote and having it go down. Then there's a visual for it. She doesn't want that visual of the roads and bridges not passing. What's the president doing? The president made two strategic moves yesterday, which I thought were bad strategic moves. The first one is to try to get the progressives to back off in protecting your recon. If the White House could get a verbal yes from the moderate Democrats about the recon, whatever the verbal yes is, and the progressives said, you know what? Moderate Democrats don't keep their promises. Why would I back off on the recon if moderate Democrats aren't keeping their promises? There was an article published today, which is off the record. Number one, off the record, has no direct quote, does not really say when it's saying, and I don't see this article anywhere else. And yes, it's in a conservative publication that likes to trash talk the president. It says the president last night was trying to get the moderate Democrats to come to $2.1 trillion recon. Yeah, and obviously try to get Bernie to that number as well. Well, that would be crazy, number one, because that would put us back to square one, because you have already passed the recon procedural. It would basically say, no, we're going to do a brand new recon procedural. It wouldn't make any sense. Number two, 2.1 is just sort of this random number. It would mean we're starting cutting things out of the recon. Do I think the article is true? No. Do I think that the article is a reach? No. Do I think that the president was trying to hatch some sort of informal agreement between the progressives and the moderates about the recon last night? Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, we know the people that were in the meeting. We know the meeting occurred. Bernie Sanders said the meeting occurred. And Bernie Sanders slammed the whole process, saying, you know what? We're dealing with $3.5 trillion. We're not dealing with $3,500. It's a lot of money, and I'm not going to just walk into a room and sort of wave my hand up and say, yeah, okay, whatever. Yeah, just sort of slop it together. He called the whole attempt to do something like that in the middle of the night without mentioning the president's name as absurd way to do business. He's absolutely correct. So, unless some major twist happens today, another victory potentially for you as well. Let's remember that the roads and bridges, passing the roads and bridges doesn't hurt your recon, but a roads and bridges going down in flames really helps your recon. And last night, we really got that help. By showing that the progressives that are protecting your recon absolutely won the night over. Progressives had a big win last night. Even the most conservative publications last night said big win for the progressives. It was a big win. And you know what the big win is for? The recon. That's why they did it, to protect your recon. That's what they say they did it for. That's what they did it for. So let's go shortly into fifth stimulus, and then we'll cut back to, and also third stimulus. Boy, a lot going on today on this recording. Third stimulus, I want you to get. The additional $13 billion cash infusion going to cities, counties, and states is landing right now. And I want you to get this big money because it's available for rent, utilities, and mortgage assistance. We don't know if it's going to be continued under fourth stimulus. That's why I want you to get it for you. And the additional $13 billion is landing everywhere, red, blue, and purple states right now. Get a pen, paper, cell phone ready because I'm going to go over all this big money and how you get it right now. When we talk about rent, it's gone up 200% from viewers. This channel have gotten 200% more than a month ago. They've gotten 300% more for utilities and gotten 400% more for SNAP than a month ago. Here's the numbers that people were getting from this channel. As Purple Hawks, hope you remember as well, a month ago, Mark got 25,000. Now our viewers are getting 40,000. When we look at the money for Utilities, the money has gone from this $5,000 to now $15,000 for Mark's brother-in-law. You remember Mark. Remember him? He's $51,000 Mark. That's the guy. And then his brother-in-law got $21,000 for Snap. Incredible. So get that pen, paper, cell phone ready. I'm going to show you how to get all these big sums of money. First, I'm going to show you 6 places to reach out to. Reach out to all 6. They have different eligibility. They have different pots of money. Number 2, I'm going to show you something about that's important for the keywords in this video. Listen to those keywords, and then also watch for the nonprofits. All right, here are the 6 places to reach out to. City Hall, City House Authority. County Hall, County House Authority. State Hall, and State House Authority. Keywords you're going to say are rent assistance because of COVID or mortgage utility assistance because of COVID. Let's go over the 6 places again. City Hall, City House Authority. County Hall, County House Authority. State Hall, and State House Authority. Next, I want you to read the Treasury letter that is now featured in the newsletter from LA Nightly. I want you to read that Treasury letter before you call up for the rent or utilities or mortgage assistance, because that money is landing everywhere. Every state's going to have it. So when you call up, I want you to ask about it. They don't have it yet. They don't know what it is. Ask to be on the waiting list. They don't have a waiting list. Ask if you can call the next day. Then SNAP. Everyone's benefits are going up an average of 25% now in the month of October. I know it's been confusing. I know a lot of you got in that first letter saying your benefits are stepping down in September. You're going to be getting a second letter saying your benefits are stepping up in October. This is huge. The average step up is about 25% nationwide automatically starting the month of October. So watch for that second letter. Then, unemployment benefits, yes. From the state, due to overpayment computer error, they're landing. Any payment is about $2,000 to $5,000. That's what viewers have gotten. And then the refund check from IRS for that 2020 tax return you paid taxes on the unemployment benefits. It's coming. About average payment is about $1,200 to $2,000. Margaret got it, Cog got it, Michael got it. If you got any of these monies from this channel, post in the live chat right now. And if you've not become a member, what are you doing? The member link is under the video. Members are delivered daily from me to them. The newsletter, the LATE newsletter, that has all the big money in it for first, second, and third stimulus. That's how Lorraine, who had already got $105,000 from his channel, got another couple $1,000s this week. That's how Johnny got $80,000. Mark, $51,000. Johnny's friends, $100,000. Mark's friends, $100,000. Jen, $40,000 for rent last week. That's how these people are getting big sums of money. So consider becoming a member. The link's under this video. And that newsletter sends out every night at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Monday through Friday. Finally, I want you to promise yourself that you get money for rent and utilities as far into the future as possible. And I want you to lean on the nonprofits. What are the nonprofits? Here they are. United Way, Salvation Army, Community Action, Catholic Charities, and St. Vincent de Paul. Those 5 nonprofits pay for the same items the third stimulus pays for, but with different eligibility. And then some other new items, like money for clothing sometimes, money for home repairs, small appliances sometimes. And yes, 2 viewers have gotten refrigerators from the nonprofits in the last 5 days. When it comes to St. Vincent de Paul and United Way, viewers have had big success in getting the rent in the last few days. Here again are those 5 nonprofits: United Way, Salvation Army, Community Action, Catholic Charities, and St. Vincent de Paul. And there you go. Consider becoming a member, because in the member newsletter that comes out nightly at 7 p.m., I have all those nonprofits in there as well. And as we go into the final minutes, let's go over a big recap of what I anticipate to happen today. Either it's happened at the time of this recording or after this recording, that this House, with Nancy Pelosi, who determines when things are called for vote, if at all, will attempt another attempt at calling the vote on the RECON, on the roads and bridges. The calling the vote on the roads and bridges will happen if Pelosi thinks she has the votes. Won't happen if Pelosi thinks she doesn't have the votes. There's no indication at the moment, at the time of this recording, that anything has changed since last night. In fact, it may be even better for you and the RECON, the progressives. Now even more aligned against the moderate Democrats, who really tried to make this sort of a trash-talking event. The progressives handled it very honorably and very reserved manner by basically saying, don't gloat about the situation. Don't name call. If the moderate Democrats want to do it, just don't drop to that level, and just come in and say no. Their messaging stayed on point. Number one, Jalapal said that the roads and bridges did not need to be done by yesterday. You could have a Senate reconvene on Friday to reappropriate more money for surface transportation agreement, which they thought was a fake, which they claiming was a deadline. It's not. That was, in fact, what's happening today, refunding of that. Number two, the messaging that people would sort of roll over and do a totally different recon at the 11th hour and then let people have their roads and bridges without anything confirmed in a bill is something that no progressive should do and no progressive would do. So it was very important to see that not only did the progressives win last night, but your recon won. Your recon won like you could never imagine, with Americans, House, Senate, and so certainly you, protecting the recon. As Hakeem Jeffries, the head of the caucus from the Democrats in Congress, said, we have two bodies of law that we're trying to get together, and together they will both pass over the finish line. Quoting my words, yeah. Wearing a purple shirt? I hope so. And will we be watching the voting today? We will. So join me later on Evenings LA because the news cycle is changing by the hour, on the hour. So I don't want you to miss a single video. That's coming up at 5 o'clock tonight. Then we got shows at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, and 11:30. They're very important shows because they show you how to track money when it's sent out under the stimulus packages. Meantime, if I have to break into any type of programming tonight to deliver you a live breaking news, I will try my best as I did last night. And after one or two attempts to not be able to technically get it right, I got it right. And with that, thank you for watching and subscribe. 400,000 subscribers on YouTube record. I want you part of this incredible family. Hit that subscribe button right now. Like the video, 2,000-3,000 likes, and consider becoming a member. Purple Hawk, Purple Powercast, so you know VIP. Stay informed, stay focused, and I'll see you next as LA continues.